What's going on, vinyl community? Welcome to another video with the Record Spinner. In today's video, I'm going to be doing a vinyl haul showcasing what I got from this year's 2023 Record Store Day Black Friday. Of course, every year when it comes down to Record Store Day, there's always two big events. There's the main one that goes down in April, and then there's the other smaller one that goes on for Black Friday. And I feel like I say this every year, and I hadn't really commented on my thoughts of this year's list, but it just seems like it gets a little bit lackluster every year as it progresses, but still there's always like a few interesting tidbits as well as just some cool things to see come out. And, you know, it seems like I'm downing it, but then again, I have a stack like this and I'm just like, okay, like I ended up getting my hands on much more than I anticipated, and definitely got some cool things I'm going to show you guys in this video. So enough of the chit chat. Let's jump into what this video is all about. Starting off with the first LP here, that was kind of the necessity purchase out of what was featured on this year's list. And that is Eric Carr's Rockology, the picture disc version. Now, if you remember back earlier this year for regular Record Store Day, there was a 2LP splatter vinyl version that was put out by Culture Factory, and now they have followed suit with a picture disc edition, which I think is well suited because I do have the 4 1978 Kiss solo records on picture discs. It's those 2000 Russian pressings, so now they followed suit with this single LP picture disc version, which focuses on just the main album itself, which is pretty solid. And it's a nice die-cut jacket, as you see, and once you take out all the contents, you have Eric's makeup design here. There's also the fold-out poster, which kind of mimics the feel and look of the 1978 solo album posters. And then almost coincidentally the same as those 2000s Russian picture discs. It's the same image on both sides, each side being distinguished by the text that's featured on the bottom. So if you're a Kiss fan and you're into picture discs, and if you follow my channel, you know that I've been going down the Kiss picture disc rabbit hole. This was definitely a necessary purchase. And this is also a Record Store Day exclusive pressing, limited to 4,000 copies. And then there's also a CD picture disc version. I didn't pick that up because I already have the regular one from previously, so glad to have this and sort of round off the Kiss solo album picture disc collection. Not that this was a solo album in the sense of the others, but you kind of get the gist. But also, fun fact, if you didn't catch that first Record Store Day video that I did, the artwork for this Eric Carr album was done by the same guy that did the 4 solo albums, and this was kind of done as a mock-up for when, if Eric was to do his own solo album within Kiss. There was a little contractual loophole. Not a lot of Kiss fans really know that, but that's featured here, which is really cool. Kind of makes it more unique in a sense. So I got that. Now we're going to go on to probably my favorite release from this year's Record Store Day Black Friday, one that has a little bit of an interesting history, and that is The Doors live in Bakersfield, August 21st, 1970. Now, this is a recording that is known to exist for a number of years. There's a whole backstory behind the tapes, and there was plans to release this as part of The Doors' Bright Midnight Records Archives label of like live recordings. From what I understand, Ray Manzarek vetoed its release for some reason, and since he passed away about 10 years ago, how much more say can there be? But honestly, I do have to give it to the Doors team for now giving us the goods between Paris Blues, the Matrix tapes, and now this. So we can only imagine what else is going to be coming. But this brings together a recording that was done live in Bakersfield, recorded by their sound engineer, Vince Traynor, who toured with the band. And honestly, if you're familiar with 1970 era Doors live recordings, it's everything that you come to expect. Opens up with Roadhouse Blues. You have the medley of Alabama Song, Backdoor Man, 5 to 1, When the Music's Over, Universal Mind, Ship of Fools, The End. Really solid stuff here. Now, this is a Record Store Day exclusive pressing. It says on the back it's limited to 12,500. I am going to assume that that is the amount of worldwide copies, but according to Record Store Day's website, this is limited to 7,500 copies in the US. And take a look at that nice number. That is copy number 319. We have some liner notes, track-by-track breakdown, as well as some notes from the Doors archivist, which is pretty solid. And this also comes pressed on really cool colored vinyl, which I will show you guys. So this kind of comes on orange vinyl here. Nice red custom center labels, matches very nicely. And I'll showcase the other LP. Very cool. And I also should mention that there is a CD version of this release made available for Record Store Day Black Friday as well. I believe that is limited to 25,000 copies, so that might be more readily available depending on which way you look at it. But I'm really excited to dig my way into this Doors live recording from Bakersfield that for almost 20 years has meant to come out, and now it has finally come out. So this is the release that I am most excited for. And now we go into some middle school nostalgia kind of territory. This is one that's honestly really, really cool. This is Linkin Park Lost Demos. So this is a collection of various demos that appear on the Meteora 20th anniversary box sets. If you're a diehard Linkin Park fan, you might be familiar with some of these demos if you were part of the Linkin Park Underground fan club where you got yearly CDs and such. And since they put out the box set and have featured everything, they went ahead and put together this collection of various non-album tracks that did not appear on Meteora, as well as some early versions of songs that did appear on the album. But obviously the most notable track is Lost, which is a sort of much hyped up track that never quite came out in the early 2000s, but it has come out since they reissued the album, and it's been getting a lot of radio airplay, and it just sounds like it could have very well easily found its way on the record, but just did not appear. So this is a really cool release to have, and one that I think a lot of people will be clamoring for. And now this is a Record Store Day first release, so there's probably going to be a standard pressing to come in the future. It does come with an insert with a sort of track-by-track breakdown, which is pretty nice. And this Record Store Day Black Friday pressing comes pressed on sort of sea blue colored vinyl, which is pretty solid. So really excited to relive some middle school nostalgia-filled memories with this Linkin Park release, because it's thanks to my good friend Donovan that got me into Linkin Park when we were young kids. So anytime I listen to them, I always think back to a simpler time. So very happy to have this. And then we go back into Monterey Pop Festival vein. It seems like every year they keep pumping out these sort of archival releases of acts that played at Monterey Pop. And the latest one for this year is the Mamas and the Papas. Now, honestly, I don't have any Mamas and the Papas on vinyl. I have been meaning to do that. And given that this band was one of the most defining bands of the whole Summer of Love period, and their background with this festival and the makings of it, it was definitely one that I had to get my hands on and also just dive into just as a historical document. And this was put out by the Monterey International Pop Festival Foundation. They've done releases for The Who and Jefferson Airplane, so I'm hoping that this series will continue to go on for a number of years. So as you see, there's the tape box from the Wally Heider Recording Company, some messages from various members and people from the festival, and this comes pressed on sort of custard yellow colored vinyl. And this is a Record Store Day first pressing, limited to 2,750 copies, which is pretty solid. Moving onward, we kind of stay relative to the time frame of when the Mamas and the Papas took the stage at Monterey, and we're going to treat ourselves to the mono version of the first Monkees album. Now, this is unique because obviously it's in mono, and they even went ahead and recreated the infamous misprint on the front cover with Papa Jean's Blues. If you're a Monkees aficionado, you know all about that, which is pretty solid. And this was put out by Friday Music as well, and it comes with this printed inner sleeve, which has the single sleeve for Last Train to Clarksville. And then there's also a brief little message from Friday Music founder Joe Ragoso, which is pretty cool. And this is a Record Store Day first pressing limited to 2,000 copies, and this is pressed on what is called color splash vinyl. So it's kind of like clear vinyl, but you got some flecks of red and a little bit of black that kind of just changes the overall hue. As you can tell, they take that Cold Gems label and they turn it into a Friday Music label, just with the name right there. So it'll be cool to hear the packfulness and the punchiness of this mono mix of the first Monkees record. So happy to have that. Moving on to not exactly an album that got reissued for Record Store Day Black Friday, but it's an album in general this year that celebrated its 40th anniversary with a ridiculous over-the-top box set, but they decided to do a little smaller release to celebrate the album, and that is Mötley Crüe. Of course, the album that I'm talking about is Shout at the Devil, but they put out the Too Young to Fall in Love EP, which obviously includes that track from the album, as well as the tracks Knock 'em Dead Kid from Shout at the Devil, and Take Me to the Top, which appears on Too Fast for Love. And honestly, I mean, for 3 tracks and such, it's designed pretty cool with a band photo. It's unique, and also the color of the vinyl is really sick. This is a Record Store Day exclusive pressing limited to 3,500 copies, and this comes pressed on orange marbled vinyl. So you basically have like a rich orange hue with some flecks of black in there, which is absolutely amazing. So something cool to have if you are a Crüe fan. I know that there was a 10-inch release that I believe was done last year, so they're kind of continuing these sort of spin-off releases. Moving onward into some modern territory with a Third Man related artist. Now, when it comes to Third Man records, I dig deep into the roster. I try to listen to anyone and anybody that's on there. And this artist, while she is not part of Third Man right now, she has moved on to much bigger things. She's on Loma Vista right now. She put out a record this year called Strays, and that artist is Margot Price, and this is Strays live at Grimey's. Now, Grimey's is a record store in Nashville, and it's a record store that I've had the great pleasure of visiting a couple of times with my good friends, the youngest members of the VC, and just given the Third Man Nashville youngest members kind of connection, I thought it would be cool to have this in my collection. And also the fact that when we took a little detour to Nashville after we went to New Orleans this year, we stopped at Grimey's, and I believe this mural was up because they always paint like the exterior of the record store with notable artists and such. I believe this was up. So I thought it would be really cool to have this in my collection. Has several tracks that appear on the Strays album. Some cool shots of Margot featured on the printed inner sleeve. And this is a Record Store Day exclusive pressing, limited to 2,000 copies. And it comes pressed on this sort of marbled orange, creamsicle colored vinyl type record. It looks absolutely beautiful, I do have to say that. So, very, very cool. And last but not least, here is a release that was supposed to come out earlier this year for Record Store Day. Then it got pushed back to Black Friday. And it's an interesting release to see come out, but one that I'm very excited for. Finishing off strong with Sparks, live at the record plant in 1974. So this was right around the time of Kimono My House and Propaganda. So right off the bat, that is my favorite period of Sparks and their very wide and varied career. And this was a radio broadcast that they did at the record plant. It's been bootlegged for a number of years. And this odd label, Sound City, they were responsible for putting out the Ted Nugent Nuge Vault release from Record Store Days past. They put out this. So I don't see this as being like an official licensed Sparks release that you can see as part of their discography. But also, I do have to say the artwork choice is kind of atrocious. I hate to say it, just because you have like a late 70s, early 80s photo paired with a recording from 74. You gotta get it right. Come on, guys. But like I said, this is my favorite Sparks, period, and most of my favorite Sparks songs are featured on this record, of course. This Town Ain't Big Enough for the Both of Us, Amateur Hour, Hasta Mañana Monsieur, Talent is an Asset, Thank God It's Not Christmas, all good stuff. And this is a Record Store Day first pressing, limited to 2,000 copies, and it's pressed on clear vinyl. So, like I said, finished off strong. And there you guys go. That is what I got from this year's 2023 Record Store Day, Black Friday. Here is a question to you guys. What did you guys pick up? What releases were you the most excited about? Please drop a comment down below. I'd love to know. And if you enjoyed this video, please go ahead, give it a like, and subscribe to the channel. See you guys in the next video. And most importantly, keep the records spinning.